Oppenheimer has just won big at the Golden Globes, picking up 5 awards for Best Score, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Director, and Best Motion Picture Drama. Alongside the Globes, it has also been sweeping in a lot of other award ceremonies too, leading us into the coming Oscars due to take place later this March. So the question we have is, will Christopher Nolan finally go big at the Oscars, and which categories is Oppenheimer most likely to win? Using all the awards data we have so far, I'm going to be giving you my predictions for the categories Christopher Nolan's film can win, the ones it has a good chance in, and then the few that it probably won't. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my future content surrounding Christopher Nolan and his future projects, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into my Oscar predictions for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. So at this moment in time, Oppenheimer is winning a lot of the biggest trophies on the awards circuit. It currently has 109 wins so far, with second place going to the holdovers with 39 wins. So it's leading the way by quite a large margin, and having kept a close eye on all the different award events, it's not just the Golden Globes that it's winning the biggest prizes in. It's leading the way in Best Picture wins, winning 14 to Killers of the Flower Moon's 9. In Best Director, Nolan is also quite ahead in wins, having already won 23 to Jonathan Glazer's 5. Best Actor is another dominant category for Christopher Nolan's film, with Cillian Murphy already having won 19 awards for his central role. And Supporting Actor, while currently tight, is leaning in the direction of Robert Downey Jr., who has 15 wins to Charles Melton's 11 and Ryan Gosling's 10. It's also dominating Best Cinematography, Best Editing, and Best Original Score by quite some margin, and then also it's leading the way in the Best Sound category. One thing you might have noticed is that a lot of these categories were not present at the Golden Globes, so there's a big chance that Oppenheimer sweeps a lot of the awards if voters are still leaning in its direction come March. While it did win Best Picture Drama, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Score at the Golden Globes, another thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the time in recent years, the films that win big at the Globes don't usually win all the same awards at the Oscars because of the different sets of voters. That being said though, the last film to win both the Golden Globes and the Oscars and gross around $1 billion at the box office was another huge event film in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. So while there's a worry that Oppenheimer can sweep the Oscars just as it did at the Golden Globes, it has happened with another big grossing event film before, and again in the other award shows, it's sweeping a lot of the different categories. So now that we've discussed some of the pros and cons for Oppenheimer at the Oscars, what awards do I think it will be nominated for at the Academy Awards? Well, when going over the different categories that Nolan's film can be nominated for, there's a good chance that it will come close to the nomination record, which is currently 14 nominations shared by Titanic, La La Land, and All About Eve. Now, I don't think it can equal that record because Oppenheimer already had a blow to its tally by not being shortlisted in the visual effects category when that was revealed a few weeks ago. On top of this, it doesn't look to be getting much recognition in the costume design category, which if it did get, it would be able to reach a total of 13 nominations. So with it potentially being out of those two categories, I think Oppenheimer is going to end up with a total of 12 nominations. The categories included are Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Score, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Cinematography, and Best Production Design. All of these categories have Oppenheimer either winning at different award shows or within the top 5, so I think at this point it's almost guaranteed to get those 12 nominations. Again, it won't won't hit the record of 14 nominations, but having 12 is still a huge amount to receive, and of course, it means that it will have a good chance of bagging a lot more wins on the night. So with it potentially landing 12 nominations, we now reach the hard part of the video, predicting which ones it will win using the data we have thus far. One thing to note is that, like I touched on before, a film winning the Golden Globes doesn't usually win Best Picture at the Oscars too, and in recent years we've seen the award circuit favour a different film as we move into January or February. Last year it was Everything Everywhere All at Once, while at the Golden Globes the drama prize went to The Fabelmans and the comedy prize went to The Banshees of Inisherin. So for Oppenheimer to win Best Picture at the Oscars like it did at the Golden Globes, it's got to have a similar run to Return of the King back in 2004, where that film was pretty dominant across the award season schedule. Oppenheimer has been dominant right from the start, so if it continues this run in the build up to March and wins a lot of the other upcoming award shows, then it will go into the Oscars as the big favourite. Another thing to keep in mind is that 4 out of the last 5 winners of Best Picture have each won a Screenplay Award at the Oscars as well. When it comes to Adapted Screenplay, the writing award that Oppenheimer will be competing in, at this moment in time, while Nolan's film is leading the category in wins, we've seen multiple films take wins in that category too, and it's becoming a very unpredictable award. So what I'm saying is that Oppenheimer can either win both writing and Best Picture, or break a common trend and win Best Picture without winning Adapted Screenplay. It's just something to keep in mind because the Academy traditionally throw curveballs at us with the winners, and having seen Christopher Nolan not win in the big categories many times before with other films, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if a certain category went a different way on the night. But coming now to what I think Oppenheimer will win at the Oscars, I think it's going to win a total of 9 Academy Awards. The record for wins is 11, shared by Titanic, Lord of the Rings Return of the King, and Ben-Hur. And the last film to win 9 Oscars was The English Patient back in 1996. The closest to that was Slumdog Millionaire with 8 wins in 2008, and then just behind that is Everything Everywhere All at Once with 7 wins from last year. Out of the 9 wins that I predict Oppenheimer getting, the 6 that I think it will definitely win is Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Sound, Best Original Score, Best Actor, and Best Director. It's pretty much well ahead in each of these 6 categories, and it's hard to imagine there being a big upset. However, the other 3 awards that I predict it to win are ones that are still unpredictable at this moment in time. They are, yes, ones that Oppenheimer is leading the way in, but ones where other films or actors could win instead because it is much tighter. The 3 awards that I'm talking about are Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, and of course, Best Adapted Screenplay. Starting with Best Supporting Actor, this is probably the one that I'm more confident about because so far, Robert Downey Jr. is winning most of the awards in that category. The talk is that Ryan Gosling or Charles Melton could be the upset, and come the end of the award season, it may turn in their favour. Right now, however, it does look like Downey has the edge in this category, and I think out of the 3 potential upsets, this one is likely going in Oppenheimer's favour. Moving on, when it comes to Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay, I think this is going to be an interesting one because yes, while Oppenheimer is leading in both of these categories, there is still the chance that, like in more recent Oscar history, there could be an upset in one of the Screenplay Awards. If that happens, then Oppenheimer will have to break the trend by being one of the few films to win Best Picture while not winning an award for Screenplay. It has happened, and while it's rare in more recent years, this year does seem like the occasion where it could happen again. And that's because Oppenheimer is currently winning in a lot of the biggest awards and categories, so regardless of it potentially missing out on Screenplay, with it likely winning an acting award, a director award, and loads of technical awards too, that could mean that it does get the advantage in Best Picture. I think it will either win Adapted Screenplay and Best Motion Picture, or Best Picture on its own. I personally am going to stick with my bold predictions of it getting 12 nominations and 9 wins, and even if there's an upset in 1 or 2 of the categories, I think it's still going to end up with a lot of wins across the board. But that was my video breaking down the Oscar predictions for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. I really think that this is Christopher Nolan's year to win big at the award shows, and based on everything that's happened thus far, it looks like his latest film is going to be winning in a lot of the biggest categories at the Oscars. Regardless of if it wins Best Picture or not, I do think it's Nolan's year for director, and it would be an absolute shock if he didn't win in that category after just picking up the Golden Globe for it too. We'll have to see how the film fares, but whether it wins big or not, I think a lot of us who love the director's work and his latest film believe that his work has already been solidified as some of the greats in film history. The awards are just that extra bit of recognition for a filmmaker and their whole crew who went beyond the limits to bring us something extraordinary on the big screen. But what Oscars do you think Oppenheimer will win, and do you think Christopher Nolan will finally end up winning Best Director and Picture for his latest work? Let me know down below in the comment section. For much more videos and updates on the work of Christopher Nolan, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, rating, and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.